Hey, good morning, everybody. It's the Truth Serum. Good morning once again. And uh, thank you for my new subscribers. And this isn't a fancy setup with intros and outros and computer graphics. I just have a little channel here. So come on, sit down and take a ride with me. And uh, I want to tell you my first experience with a gang member. Uh, the Crips, the Bloods, and then there's other dangerous gang members. I moved to the West Side, and I was more or less a lone ranger. But my first day or so there in the streets, uh, I was sitting outside on the paper box, and this giant Puerto Rican came walking down. He looked like Bull from Night Court, if you're old enough to remember that television series. And he comes up and comes right up and says, "Give me $3 for a 40 bowl, for a 40-ounce bottle of beer." They called them 40 bowls. So I'm street smart and savvy smart, as whatever that means, and as much as I can be. And I just wanted to say, keep stepping, bro. You got no intimidation here. You got no game here. Keep stepping. But I thought to myself, for a stinking $2 or $3, I better start. I'm here. I'm new here, and then I want to sell. Marijuana there also, and I was dating a girl, a Puerto Rican girl, on the West Side, and I figured I'm going to be rubbing elbows. I'm going to be visible on the streets, and you know. So moving ahead, I says there was a convenience store 20 yards from us. I says, "Come on, let's go to the store. I'll get you one." So I get him like a 6-pack or whatever. Like I get him like $10 worth of beer, and he comes back to where I was originally sitting, and we're talking and he says, "I'm Italian." In his mind, he thought all Italians were in the mafia. In his mind, it's just the way his his thinking was, and so we had a good little visit. I knew this, but in talking to him, I just knew that this guy slanted, and but we kind of hit it off a little bit, and he was cool, I was cool, and so about a week later, I like to play basketball. They have the basketball courts, and I want to play. But I would watch games, and nobody would pick me. They had their own clique and everything. So I used to watch. To this one day, they needed a player, and it was actually that tall bull, we'll call him, that said, "Hey, come on, Mafia," called me Mafia. I was like, "My name's Joe." Don't call me Mafia. My name's Joe. So he said, "Come on, Mafia, come out and play." So we're playing, and I'm doing pretty good, and I'm checking this guy, and I'm getting the best of him. And now he starts fouling me, hacking me, and he's more or less punking me on the court. And I'm thinking, what do I do? I'm just going to be a punk. I'm new on the West Side. I'm just going to be a punk. And then after that, you're a target. You're a target. People are going to shake you down. "Oh, there's that punk. He didn't stick up for himself, or he's weak." And it's just not good. You're with wolves. that are looking for prey. And I have no backup. And so we're playing and it's going on. So I says, I got to do something. So in one particular play, he was trying to fast break down the court to make a layup, but I caught him, and the basketball court was like surrounded by fence and a brick wall and a common wall. So I plowed him right into the wall, just a flagrant. I plowed him into the wall. He collapsed down to the ground, and I just start trying to pound his face in. But while that was all happening, within seconds, I was taking kicks and punches and a couple good shots. I don't know if it was a fist or a boot or whatever it was, but I got groggy and they were just gonna wear me right out. But that bull, that 6'7" monster, that bull that I bought beer for on that first day, he came and started pulling them off. That's my homeboy. That's my home. He started pulling them off of me, and they followed his lead and they chilled out. And it was just like, that was the best $10 I ever spent in my life. I mean, you got to know, you could think you're smart and street smart and savvy and everything else, but you're walking in to that world. You're walking into that environment, and you might think you know a lot about this stuff and that stuff, but with all that being said, you cannot show any weakness. You can't show weakness, because then it's just every day. You're just going to be targeted, and I see Banky Pound. He's got a good, a real good YouTube channel. Banky Pound did 33 years, and it's more or less that same kind of psychology and mentality, that you can't show sign of weakness. And you can't underestimate people just by the way they look or talk, because they could surprise you and you could end up in a critical situation. So so while I'm out there, during the same time, I'm dating a Puerto Rican girl whose brother-in-law is in one of the gangs, and we'll call him JR. And this guy was, and I, by default, by osmosis, I would end up, we're dating the same sisters, and we'd end up at their mother's house. And then by osmosis, he'd say, come on, Joel, let's walk down the block, or let's do this or that. But I already read him as this guy's, I kind of liked him, but he was dangerous. He was unbalanced. And they're all in gangs, and they do the signs. And I didn't know anything about all of that kind of stuff. And I was walking with him when he got shot. And you enter an environment like, I watch some of the prison personalities that got YouTube channels, and you walk into these environments. Now, just like when I walked into the mafia organizations, you go into these environments and there's rules, and there's expressed rules and unexpressed rules and implied things, and just by your common knowledge and just by your intellect and IQ, you might fall short and end up in some dangerous situations because you broke the rules. And you might say, well, that's a silly rule, or why would they do? Well, that's just the rules. But I see how I like to compare and contrast, like when the street gangs, I was around them once upon a time, and then I was around the organized crime gang or family or organization or whatever you want to call it. But very interesting to see from a psychological perspective on how human beings will accept and adapt to just insanity. When you're sitting there all along thinking, there's an easier way to live your life than this stuff. And I mean, I couldn't adapt that easily and readily when I first started running errands for the mob and things like that. And I said things that got me in trouble, just mere words, because they had the guidelines and the rules that they stuck to, and they'll kill you if you don't obey those rules. So just like when there was a made guy, a member in the fraternity, they call him a made guy, made man in the fraternity, the crime family, Colombo, Gambino, and he was busting my chops, so to speak. And then me, I got brave. I was a little more crazier and in my youth, and I was like, take that gun off. Let's go out into the woods or a park and let's fight, which he probably would have whooped my butt anyways with his fists, maybe. But me, I just thought, well, you better stick up for yourself, Jojo, and call him out and say, I'll fight you. You don't do that. You don't do that. You're not even a made guy. So that's like breaking 3 rules at once. So, and that was a touchy situation. So, so I look at like the West Side gangs back then, and even the Jamaicans, when I started selling pot, and they had their territory, and I thought this was a friend I knew, and then he turned into a devil. And the same people, like in the mob, in the crew of the mob, the same on the streets with Crips and Bloods, and you think you're friendly. These same people that you're laughing with and having fun with, and everything's cool, just like that, they will hurt you or maybe even kill you like that. And I like to break things down psychological, and you'll do that and follow some goofy rule, and if you get caught, you're gonna do life in prison just by these crazy things. Like, there's no value to life. There's no value to someone else's life. They have no value or self-worth for their own life because they're willing on the drop of a hat to do things that will incarcerate them for life. I'll try to put it all in perspective, like why? And that's just, we're not going to unpack that. But yeah, this guy that was more or less my brother-in-law, I wasn't married, but we were dating the same sisters, and he was respected. But I would walk down the block with him, and they would, just by association, after I got in the mix there and got settled in, nobody messed with. Then I got to know a lot of the guys, a lot of the Puerto Ricans. There were some Italians. Then it was just kind of smooth sailing. But even when they're smooth sailing, it's never just an easy feeling. Even with the organized mafia crime, you're having fun, you're gambling, you're doing this, you're laughing, enjoying, but you always have this thing in the back of your head. You have to be aware. Just, don't be naive. Don't be, too sure of yourself, because it could all change. And why do we put ourselves in these situations? Well, I was greedy and I liked the money. And I thought I had an edge, and I got too big for my britches, and then things went all kinds of crazy and sideways. But I was blessed to escape that life and move on to a more normal trajectory of my life, if that's what you want to call it. But I've been blessed along the way. But I watched those guys that did 30 years in prison. I watched their YouTube channels, and I could see a lot of the similarities with the gangs, their gangs, street gangs, the Crips, the Bloods, and the Disciples, and the mafia crime families. Where you just say, geez, that's nonsense. No, they live and die by those rules. And you got to think on your feet. You got to place mental hopscotch. You got to be, if you're going to do something or say something, you have to already process that reaction you're going to get. You're going to have a good sense of like, how's JR going to react? How's Bull going to react? How's Gui going to react? When these are just seem like friendly guys, but so you always know that you could still have fun and enjoyment and have great days, but you always have to be aware and have your guard up for what you do and what you say, because these guys they're just salivating to engage in violence. They're just salivating. And while they're having fun and you're laughing and joking, they just wait for that split second, and then all of a sudden you're caught up in a violent, dangerous situation. When I ran that kid into the fence and started pounding him, and Bull saved me, he pulled them off of me. Yeah, I was hurt, I was beat up, but it took that to say, hey, this Italian, he's gonna fight you. I mean, you're gonna have to fight him every day. And then they start thinking, how crazy is this Italian, where he might just run up and just shank you in the back. So you have to put something else on their mind. Then you're just weak and meek, and you're gonna take that. So and then you don't want to be the guy that the Italian whooped. Everybody's standing around talking smack and they're ribbing and all this and that. And then some other guy gets too big for his britches and you start blasting away on each other. They don't want to be the guy that you whoop. So you play these psychological games. Some are just completely psychopathic, and they just don't care. In the Italian mafia, in the street gangs, there's just some unbalanced people. They just don't care. So you could play all the psychological games and think you're safe. There's just some people that just don't care. A friend of mine did 40 years in Attica, and he taught, and he did, and I know he doesn't watch these videos, and that's good, but he was completely ready to kill at any second. And I mean, you deal with these people. I don't even want to talk smack here. He doesn't watch YouTube, I don't think, but I don't mean don't take any offense if, you know who you are, but that's what you got. That's what you're up against. I mean, but he's older now, but their mental apparatus is just built that way. It's just like, it don't matter how good you could play this psychological chess game. Some just don't care. They don't value your life. They don't value their life. And when it's game time, yeah. So yeah, I wanted to throw a little something in there. Thank you for the new subscribers. Check out my old videos. Like, share, and subscribe. I wrote a book. It's in the link or whatever you call it. They Dead Missed. It's a nice book and everything else. But I had a nice Memorial Day yesterday. I went out to the theme park and enjoyed the sun and everything. And summer's here, and enjoy, folks. Like, share, and subscribe if you like the stuff. I got 100 videos back there. My subscriber ticker is working again. So for at least this period of time. So I'm going to try to not get censored. I'm just going to try to navigate my way through here and just, it's a nice little hobby for me. So thanks a lot, everybody. God bless y'all. Enjoy the summer. If you're able to help somebody out, help them out. That's all. People need help out there. There's a lot of mental health problems. There's a lot of drug addiction. There's just a lot of stuff going on. So if you can help somebody out, that's cool. And thank you, veterans, since, I ran into a couple veterans at the theme park, and, and I'm from a military family. So thank the veterans when you see them, all right? Because they had more cayunes than some mobsters. Those veterans had more cayunes than the mobsters, okay? Salute. All right, everybody. I'll probably do something else real soon. So come on in and join me and get a beverage next time. And we'll hang out together. Thanks a lot, folks.